So, our topic for today is about project time management, which is too important to a project management. So, we're looking forward to understand or to learn some important discussion about project time management, specifically to understand the importance of project schedules in good project time management. Define activities as the basis for developing project schedules. Of course, describe how project managers use network diagrams and dependencies to assist in activity sequencing. Understand the relationship between estimating resources and project schedules. Explain how various tools and techniques help project managers perform activity duration estimating. Of course, using a Gantt chart for planning and tracking schedule information, find the critical path for a project and describe how critical chain scheduling and the program evaluation and review techniques that is PERT affect schedule development. In this discussion, we will be able also to know on how reality checks and people issues are involved in controlling in managing changes to the project schedule. At the same time, we can describe how project management software can assist in project time management and review words of caution before using this software. So, to give us a more detail about project time management, please let us all welcome Mr. Jeffrey R. Sullivan. Okay, Sir Jeffrey, take it away. Go ahead, Sir Jeffrey. Go ahead, Mr. Jeffrey.
Guys, good morning, Doc Mello. My name is Jeffrey R. Sullivan, and this is my topic, Project Time Management. What is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. The uniqueness of outcome distinguishes projects from ongoing operations, which often have different goals, balancing of workloads, repetitive focus, short cycle times, and etc. Project and but operation are ongoing and repeat. Example of project: construction, introducing a new product line, designing and implementing a new ad campaign. Time management. What is a project time management? Project time management involves the process required to ensure timely completion of a project. Time management is a part of triple constraint: cost, time, and quality. Can't manage one without the others. Importance of project schedules. Time is often one of the biggest challenges faced by project managers. Time has the least amount of flexibility. Schedule issues are the main reason for conflicts on project. Consultant and contractors have issue with schedules. Project time management process. Define activities, sequence activities, estimate activity resources, estimate activity duration, develop schedule, control schedule. Activity definition. Identify the specific activities that the project team member and stakeholder must perform to produce the project deliverables. Activity sequencing. Identifying and documenting the relationship between the project activities. Mandatory dependency inherent in the nature of the work. Discretionary dependency defined by the project team. External dependencies involve relationship between the project and non-project activities. You must determine the dependencies in order to use critical path analysis. Network diagrams. So show the present relationships among activities. Understand the flow of work in a project. A useful tool for project planning and control as well as for scheduling. Two main formats are the arrow and precedence diagramming methods. Sample activity on arrow. Network diagram for project X. Note: assume all duration are in days. A is equal to 1 means activity A has a duration of 1 day. Arrow diagramming method or ADM, commonly called activity on arrow. Activities are represented by rows. Nodes or circles are starting to ending points of activities. Can only show finish to start dependencies. Precedence diagramming method or PDM. Activities are represented by boxes. Arrows show relationship between activities, more popular than ADM method used by project management software, better at showing different types of dependencies. Four types of dependencies. Task dependencies. The nature of the dependencies between linked tasks. You link tasks by defining a dependency between their finish and start dates. For example, the contact caterer's task must finish before the start of the determine menus task. There are four kinds of task dependencies in Microsoft Project. Task dependency: finish to start to start, finish to finish, start to finish. Descriptions: Task B cannot start until Task A finish. Task B cannot start until Task A starts. Task B cannot finish until Task A finish. Task B cannot finish until Task A starts. Activity resource estimating. Estimating how many resources a project team should use to perform a project activities. Before estimating activity duration, you must have a good idea of the quantity and type of resources that will be assigned to each activity. Activity duration estimating, estimating the number of work periods that are needed to complete individual activities. Duration includes the actual amount of time worked on the activity plus the elapsed time. Effort is the number of work days or work hours required to complete a task. Schedule development. Analyzing activity sequence, activity resources estimate, and activity duration estimate to create the project schedule. Schedule development uses results of the other time management processes to determine the start and end date of the project and, its activities. Important tools and techniques include Gantt charts, critical path analysis, critical chain scheduling, and PRT analysis. Gantt charts. Gantt charts provide a standard format for displaying a project schedule information by listing project activities and their corresponding start and finish dates in a calendar format. Symbols include a black diamond, milestone or significant events on a project with zero duration, thick black bar summary task, lighter horizontal bars task, arrow dependency between task. Gantt chart for project X. Gantt chart for software launch project. Techniques for shortening a project schedule. Shortening duration of critical tasks by adding more resource or changing their scope. Crashing tasks by obtaining the greatest amount of schedule comprehension for the least incremental cost. Employing more labor to execute a particular task in a shorter duration. Fast tracking tasks by doing them in a parallel or overlapping them. Crashing and fast tracking. Multitasking example. Buffers and critical chain. A buffer is additional time to complete a task. Murphy's law states that if something can go wrong, it will, and Parkinson's law states the work expand to fill the time allowed in tradition estimates. People often add a buffer and use it if need or not. Critical chain schedule removes buffers from individual tasks and instead creates a project buffer, which is additional time added before the project due date. Feeding buffers, which are additional time added before the task on the critical path. Example of critical chain scheduling. Program evaluation and review techniques. PERT is a network analysis technique used to estimate project duration when there is a high degree of uncertainty about the individual activity duration estimates. PERT uses probabilistic time estimate based on using optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic estimates of an activity duration. PERT formula and example. PERT weight average formula. Optimistic time plus 4 times most likely time plus pessimistic time. Example, PERT weight average is equal to 8 working days plus 4 times 10 working days plus 24 work days is equal to 12 days, where 8 is equal to optimistic time, 10 is equal to most likely time, and 24 is equal to pessimistic time. Schedule control. Perform reliability check on schedules. Allow for contingencies. Don't plan for everyone to work at 100% capacity all the time. Hold progress meetings with stakeholders and be clear and honest in communicating schedule issues. Reality checks in scheduling. Review the draft schedule or estimated completion date in the project charter. Prepare a more detailed schedule with the project team. Make sure that schedule is realistic and followed. Alert top management well in advance if there are schedule problems. Working with people issues. Strong leadership helps project succeeds more than good PRT chart. Project managers should use empowerment, incentives, incentives, discipline, negotiation. Using software to assist in time management. Software for facilitating communication helps people exchange scheduled related information. Decision support models help analyze trades-off that can be made. Project management software can help in various time management areas. Conclusion. Project manager usually use software to set up the activities and dependencies and let the software calculate the critical path. The critical path is the critical to the time management knowledge area. Overall, for effective time management, leadership is a key factor in achieving project output on time. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, so based on the given discussion, of course, so based on what I have here, no, so on the project management side, that the most important things that we need to consider in the project management is with possibilities for schedule conflicts. No, it's important to use good project time management. Of course, uh, at the same time, no, so the project managers can help improve performance in this area. The project management or the project time management simply defined involves the process requiring the it required to ensure timely completion of a project. So achieving timely completion of a project, however, is by no means simple. What are the six main process involved in project time management? Based on the discussion of Mr. Soliven, we have the activity definition, which involves identifying the specific activities that the project team members and stakeholder must perform not to produce the project deliverables. So this one, an activity task, no, is an element of work normally found on the work breakdown structure or the WBS. That's why we discussed the WBS that has an expected duration, a cost, and resource requirements. Uh, the main outputs of this process are an activity list, no, activity attributes, milestone list, and a requested changes. We have also an activity sequencing, no. It involves identifying and documenting the relationship between project activities. The main outputs of this process include a project schedule network diagram, requested changes, and updates of the activity in the list and attributes. We have also activity resource estimating. So this involves estimating how many resources, people, equipment, and materials a project team should use to perform project activities. So the main output of this process are activity resource requirements, a resource breakdown structure, requested changes, and updates to activity attributes and resource calendars. Activity duration estimating. The output of this includes activity duration estimates and updates to activity attributes. We have schedule development. So in schedule development, it include a project schedule, schedule model data, a schedule baseline, requested changes and updates to resource requirements, activity attributes, and the project calendars and the project management plan. Under the schedule control, it includes performance measurements, requested changes, recommended corrective actions, and updates to the schedule model data. The schedule baseline, organizational process assets, the activity list and the attributes, and the project management plan. Or, as of course, this will be the six main processes involved in project time management or time processes. We need also to consider that the activity list is a tabulation of activities to be included on a project schedule. So the list should include the activity name, activity identifier or number, and a brief description of the activity. The activity attributes provide more schedule-related information about its activity, such as predecessor, successor, logical relationship, leads in lags, resource requirements, constraints. source, no? Logical relationship, leads in logs as I mentioned, impose dates, and assumption called the activity. So the activity list and activity attributes should be in agreement with the work breakdown structure and work breakdown structure dictionary. So while a milestone on a project is a significant event that normally has no duration. So as I mentioned, this will be the activity task. So the activity list covered the activity name, as I mentioned, identifier number, a brief description of the activity. Okay? So a milestone often takes several activities and a lot of work to complete a milestone. So example include completion and customer sign off of key documents and completion of a specific products. Okay? So how about the network diagrams? So this will be the activity sequencing. You must determine dependencies in order to use critical path analysis. So three types of dependencies. We have mandatory dependencies, we have discretionary dependencies, and external dependencies. We need to take note that external dependencies involve relationship between project and non-project activities, which may be considered in our project time management. Okay, so I think that we need also to consider, no, so the network diagram as I mentioned earlier. So the two main formats are an arrow and precedence diagramming methods. So this will be assume all duration are in days. So A is equal to 1 means activity A has a duration of 1 day. The calculating the critical path is also important for us to understand, no? Because to find the critical path for a project, you must first develop a good network diagram, which in turn requires a good activity list based on the work breakdown structure. So, based on the given example, no, we need to take note that you can use either the activity on arrow or precedence diagramming method to determine the critical path on a project. So, a total of 4, no, through the network diagram. Each path start at the first node, of course, and end at the last node. So, on the activity on arrow or AOA network diagram, so this figure also shows the length or total duration of each path through the network diagram, and these lengths are computed by adding the duration of each activity on the path. So, for example, we have B, no, is equal to 2. Tapos, then E is equal to 5, that is 7, right? Then plus H, no, this one. So from here to H, that is 6. Then J. So from H to J plus 3. So if we're going to add, so 2 plus 5, 7 plus 6, 11 plus 3, that is, 2 plus 5, 7 plus 6, 13 plus 3, that is 16. It means to say that the 16 days has the longest duration. It is the critical path for the project. So it means to say if we computed the longest duration, it is the critical path for the project. Okay? Since the critical path is the longest path through the network diagram, so therefore the BEHJ is the critical path for this project. Clear po ba 'yon? So you just try to compute, for example, 1 to 2, that is 1, A1, plus 4, that is 5, plus 6, that is 11, plus 3, that is only 14, right? So how about if this line? So 3 plus 6, that is 9, plus 2, 11, plus 3, 15. So it means to say that the highest is BEHJ, that is 16. And therefore, again, this will be the critical path for this project. The longest duration or days. We consider that A is equal to 1 day, the activity D is equal to 4 days, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, arrow diagramming method, of course, no, we have a network diagram a while ago. So, we presented activities by arrows. Nodes or circles are the starting and ending points of the activities and can only show finish to start dependencies. So this will be the process actually for creating an activity on arrow diagrams. Okay? This will be the procedure. So you need to find all the activities that start at node 1. We need to start always with node 1. So as what we have here, no, based on the given example, no, this will be this one is the node 1, no, 1. Then A, we have arrow A to 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is a node. Okay? Now, so how about the task dependency types? So we have here the nature of dependencies between linked tasks. So you link task by defining a dependency between their finish and start date. So as what we have here, no, task must finish before the start of the determined menus task. No, there are 4 kinds of task dependencies in Microsoft Project. I don't know if you are familiar with Microsoft Project that is also under Microsoft Office. So we have finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, and start to finish. Okay? So this will be the sample PDM network diagram. Actually, we have what we call Murphy's Law, we have project buffer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so activity resource estimating. Consider important issue in estimating resources. So this will be the how difficult will it be to complete specific activities on this project? What is the activity or what is the organization's history in doing similar activities? Are the required resources available? So as I mentioned earlier, the duration, include the actual amount of time worked on an activity plus the elapsed time. No, effort is the number of work days or work hours required to complete a task. Effort does not normally equal duration, and people doing the work should help create estimates and an expert should review them. So we have 3 points estimate. Actually, this 3 point estimates is also needed to or for PERT estimates and Monte Carlo simulations. So we have the schedule development, no? Use result of the other time management process to determine the start and ends of the project. So most commonly, no, we are looking with the previous activity or previous project for us to determine the start and the dates of the project. So we need to be realistic, no, in project schedule. So for example, if this module uh, estimated 1 week, so therefore we need to be realistic, no? Especially if you have a a large project, no? So therefore, as what we discussed previously, that we create subsystem, no? So important tools and techniques include Gantt chart, critical path analysis, critical chain scheduling, and PERT analysis. So how about the Gantt chart? So we need to take note that Gantt chart provide a standard format for displaying project schedule information by listing project activities in their corresponding start and finish dates in a calendar format. the Gantt chart are sometimes referred to as a bar chart, di ba? Since the activities start and end dates are shown as horizontal bars, no? So symbols include, we have the black diamonds, that is a milestone. The thick bar, black bars, that is summary task. The lighter horizontal bars, that is duration of task. And the arrow is the dependencies between tasks. I think we have an example of a Gantt chart here. Okay, so this will be an example of a Gantt chart. Okay, so based on the given, no, it shows a simple Gantt chart for Project X. No? So created with Microsoft project. So it shows a Gantt chart that is more sophisticated based on the software launch project. Recall that the activities on the Gantt chart should coincide with the activities on the work breakdown structure. Again, your Gantt chart must be aligned with your work breakdown structure, which should coincide with activity list and milestone lists. We noticed that the software launch project's Gantt chart contains milestone, summary task, individual task durations, and arrows showing task dependencies. So this will be an adding milestone to Gantt chart. So as what we have here, the milestone, no, can be particularly important part of the schedule, especially for large projects. So many people like to focus on meeting milestones, so you can create milestone to emphasize important events or accomplishment on a project. Actually, normally you can also mark any task as milestone by checking the appropriate box in the advanced tab of the task information dialog box. The duration of the task will not change to zero, but the Gantt chart will show the milestone symbol to represent the task based on its start date. Okay, so to make milestone meaningful, some people use the SMART criteria to help define them. The SMART criteria, no, are guidelines suggesting the milestone. So again, as what we have here, the craft crown, the advertising, the public relationship, the beta testing is our work breakdown structure shown by indention. No? So we have the summary task here. No? This will be the milestone. So what will happen with week number 2, during April, and so on. So this arrow shows dependencies. No? Then this will be the individual task. So again, many people like to focus on meeting milestone, especially for large project, because milestone emphasize important events or accomplishment in a project and typically create milestone by entering tasks that have, as I mentioned earlier, have a zero duration, or you can mark any task as a milestone. So as I mentioned earlier, to make a milestone meaningful, some people use the SMART criteria. Okay, so it must be specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time frame. So, for example, distributing a marketing plan is specific, measurable, and assignable. If everyone knows what should be in the marketing plan, how it should be distributed, how many copies should be distributed, and to who is responsible for the actual delivery. Distributing the marketing plan is realistic and able to be time frame if it is an achievable event and is scheduled at an appropriate time. So this will be an example of a using track Gantt chart to compare plan and actual dates. So actually, you can use a special form of a Gantt chart to evaluate process, no, or progress on project by showing actual schedule information. Based on the given example, no, it shows a tracking Gantt chart, a Gantt chart that compares plan and actual project schedule informations. So the plan is schedule. Dates of activities are called baseline dates. Okay? And the entire approved plan schedule is called scheduled baseline. So the tracking Gantt chart includes column, no, labeled start and finish, to represent actual start and finish dates for each task, as well as columns label, right? baseline start and baseline finish to represent plan start and finish dates for each task. So the project is completed but several tasks missed their plan start and finish dates. So as what we have here. So we have the plan dates. So this will be the plan dates, but this will be the actual dates. And this will be the sleep milestone. So again, what is critical path method? So the critical path method is a network diagramming technique used to predict total project duration. This important tool will help you combat project schedule overrun. So a critical path for a project is the series of activities that determine the earliest time by which the project can be completed. It is the longest path through the network diagram and has at least amount of the slack of float. And the slack of float is the amount of time an activity may be delayed without delaying a succeeding activity or the project finish date. Actually, there are normally several tasks done in a parallel on projects. And most projects have multiple paths through a network diagram. The longest path or path containing the critical task is what is driving the completion date for the project. So you are not finished with the project until you have finished all the tasks. Okay? So in calculating the critical path, to find the critical path for a project, you must first develop a good network diagram. Okay? Which in turn requires a good activity list based on the work breakdown structure. So once you created a network diagrams, you must also estimate the duration of each activity to determine the critical path. Calculating the critical path involves adding the duration for all the activities on each path through the network diagram. The longest path is the critical path once again. Okay, based on the given example, no? So how we'll be able to determine? So as what we have here from A, D, H, J. So A, D, H, J. I don't know how could I able to use a pen, no? So this one, no? So A, D, H, I, that is A, no? D, H, J, no? So that is A is equal to 1, D is equal to 4, no? 6, 3, that is 14 days, no? So how about the B, E, H, J as what we determined a while ago? We have the B, E, we had H, and of course J. So if we're going to add, that is 16 days. Actually, we discussed it already a while ago. I will replace now my color. Excuse. Okay, so for example, for this one, no, BFJ. So B, this one, B, F, then J. That is direct. But it's just only 9 days, right? That is the shortest path. And we have also C, no? We have G, we have I, and of course the J. And that is 14 days. So therefore, our critical path or the longest path is the path number 2. And the shortest path, of course, is the path number 3. Okay? That is the way on how we'll be able to compute or to get the critical path based on the given, no? So of course more okay, so as what we have here, the more on the critical path, We have the critical path does not necessarily contain all the critical activities. It only accounts for time. So we remember the example in which growing grass was the only critical path of Disney's Animal Kingdom. O, take note of that. We have the using critical path analysis to make schedule trade-offs. Okay. So based on the given people are often confused about what the critical path is for a project or what is it really means. So some people think that critical path includes the most critical activities. However, the critical path is concerned only with the time dimension of a project. So the fact that it is named includes the word critical does not mean that it includes all critical activities. So we have here a pre-slack or pre-float, total slack or total float, a forward pass, and a backward pass. So a project managers actually determine the early and late start and finish date of each activity by hand. So as what we have here, no, a while ago. So a much faster and easier way to determine early and late start and finish dates and free and total slack amounts for activities is by using project management software. Okay. So based on the given example, we have the start, A is equal to 5, C is equal to 7, and so on and so forth. So it means to say that for A5, for example, we started from this place, no? The 0 to 5. It means to say that if you start the 0 here, then you may finish 5. Now, from 5 to C7, that is 10. Then when you start the C7, that is 10 to 7 to 17. Okay? So therefore, C is equal to 7. Okay, so this will be a pre and total float or a slack for project X. So 0 days or 2 days na. So for B, that is 0 days, for pre-slack and total slack. So use critical path to shorten a project schedule. So of course, as what we have here, we have shortening na the duration of critical activities or tasks by adding more resources or changing their scope. While the crashing is activities by obtaining the greatest amount of schedule compression from the least incremental cost. The fast tracking activities by doing them in parallel or by overlapping. So the main advantage of fast in can shorten the time it takes to finish a project. No, it is that it can end up lengthening the project schedule since starting some tasks too soon often increases project risk and results in a network or sometimes result in rework. So we have many horror stories related to project schedule actually. So as what we have here, no? Creating realistic schedules, crashing and fast tracking open customer problems, organizational issues, no, is also considered. So what are the importance of updating critical path data? So it is important to update project schedule information to meet time goals for a project. So because finding the critical path at the beginning of a project, it is important to update the schedule with actual data. So after the project team completes activities, the project manager should document the actual duration of those activities. He or she should also document revised estimates for activities in progress or yet to be started. And this revision often causes a project critical path to change, so resulting in a new estimated completion date for the project. Again, proactive project managers and their teams stay on top of changes so they can make informed decisions and keep stakeholders informed of and involved in major project decisions. So how about the critical change scheduling? The theory of constraint is based on the fact that like a chain with its weakest link, any complex system at any point in time often has only one aspect or constraint that limits its ability to achieve more of its goal. So for the system to attain any significant improvements, the constraint must be identified and the whole system must be managed with it in mind. So therefore, we need to consider the critical chain scheduling. So we have a multitasking now example, no? Actually, the multitasking occurs when a resource works on work than one task at a time. So this situation occurs frequently on projects. No, people are assigned to multiple tasks. Sometimes you are the one who assigned for documentation. You are the one who assigned for example, web design. You are the one who assigned to create work breakdown structure, project charter, statement of work, business, and so on and so forth. SWOT analysis, no? Sometimes, suppose someone is working on 3 different tasks, no? So as what we for example, no? You are assigned, for example, for work breakdown structure for 10 days, no? SWOT analysis for another 10 days, and so on and so forth. So how about a buffer? Additional time to complete a task. As I mentioned earlier, we have Murphy's Law, Parkinson's Law. No. The critical chain scheduling removes buffer from individual tasks and instead creates project buffer and feeding buffer. So based on the given example, it provides an example of a network diagram constructed using critical chain scheduling. So we need to take note that the critical chain accounts for a limited resource and the schedule includes use of feeding buffers and a project buffer in the network diagram. The tasks marked with an X are part of the critical chain. So as what we have here, we have X here. Therefore, this will be the critical chain. So which can be interpreted as being the critical path using this technique. So the task estimates is critical chain scheduling should be shorter than traditional estimate because they do not include their own buffers, and not having task buffers should mean less occurrence. So when we say Parkinson's law, state that work expand to fill the time allowed. So the feeding in the project buffers protects the date that really needs to be met, the project completion date. The program evaluation and review techniques. Another project time management technique is the PERT, no? Program evaluation and review techniques. A network analysis technique used to estimate project duration when there is a high degree of uncertainty about the individual activity duration estimate. This PERT applies the critical path method or the CPM to weighted average duration estimated. And this approach was developed about the same time as CPM in the late 1950s and also used network diagrams, which are still sometimes referred to as PERT diagrams. The PERT uses probabilistic time estimate, duration estimated based on using optimistic, most likely a pessimistic estimate of activity duration. Instead of one specific or discrete duration estimate, a CPM does. In other words, PERT uses a 3-point estimate as described earlier. To use PERT, you calculate a weighted average for a duration estimate of each project activity. So actually, we have a formula. Optimistic time plus 4 times most likely time plus pessimistic time over 6. That this will be the formula for PERT weighted average. Ay, this one. So we have an example here, no? So 8 working days plus 4 times work days, 10 work days plus 24 days. That is 12 days. So where defined, the optimistic time is 8 days, most likely time is 10 days, pessimistic is 24. So therefore, you've used 12 days on the network diagram instead of 10 when using PERT or the above example. So schedule control. So the final process in project time management is schedule control. So like scope control, schedule control is a portion of the integrated change control process under project integration management. The goal of the schedule control is to know the status of the schedule, influence the factor that cause schedule changes, determine that the schedule has changed, and manage changes when they occur. The main inputs to schedule control are the schedule baseline, performance reports, approved change requests, and the schedule management plan. What are the tools? Called progress report, schedule change control system, project management software, schedule comparison charts, variance analysis, and performance management as such as earned value. Okay, this one, no? So this will be the tools and techniques. Then reality checks is also important, no? It is important for project to have realistic schedule goals and for project managers to use discipline to help meet those goals. Okay, so one of the first reality check the project manager should make is to review the draft schedule usually include in the project charter. No? So prepare a more detailed schedule with the project team. Make sure the schedule is realistic and followed, and alert top management well in advance if there are scheduled problems. So again, project manager should use empowerment, incentives, disciplines, and negotiations. Using software to assist in project time management, of course. Software for facilitating communication helps people exchange schedule-related information. Okay, project management software can help in various time management areas. Okay, so this will be the project features related to project time management. We have reports, views in table views, and filters. So words of caution are using project management software. You must enter dependencies to have dates adjust automatically to determine the critical path. So this will be the chapter summary. We need to take note that project management software can assist in project scheduling if used properly. So with project management software, you can avoid the need to perform cumbersome calculation manually and perform what-if analysis as activity duration estimate or dependencies change. So many people misuse project management software because they do not understand the concepts behind creating a network diagram, determining the critical path, or setting a schedule baseline. So people must also avoid over-relying on sample files or templates when creating their unique project schedule. So it's not advisable for us just to use the available. No? So what we're going to do is to restate or to update the available template for different projects. And that's it for project time management.